Hi everyone, this is Matt with OCD Victory, and in this video I want to talk about the idea of pain versus suffering. Okay, so when we're talking about OCD or anxiety or panic attacks, I really want to acknowledge that those are very painful experiences for anyone that's going through them. Okay, and I can personally attest to this, and I'm sure that anyone else that is, has gone through them can agree with me that they're very painful experiences. Okay, but this idea of suffering with anxiety or OCD for an extended period of time, I mean, I'm talking, weeks, months, years, is really optional. Okay, and you're like, whoa, what do you mean by that? Are you saying that I'm choosing to do this, and I'm choosing to suffer with this? And no, I'm not saying that you're choosing to suffer from something. Okay, I don't think that people just wake up one day and are like, I'm going to develop a severe case of OCD. That sounds like a great idea. I'm going to just start, and it'll be the next 3 years of my life. Because that's not how it went for me, and I don't think that I've never heard of anyone doing that. But what I am saying is that, when you're really suffering from something again and again, it really comes down to making changes in your behaviors and the choices that you're making day to day. And that's ultimately how you break free from it, right? And I want to share these two stories because they were really helpful for me to kind of give me a good analogy. And this will hopefully kind of reinforce my point of this idea of pain versus suffering. So the first story that I want to share is this idea of a monkey trap. And a monkey trap is basically, it's something that's used, that I've read is used in places like Africa and India to catch monkeys. And the idea is that when they catch these monkeys, they often sell them to places like zoos. So they don't want to cause any harm or disfigurement to the monkey. So what they do, here, and this is one form of a trap, is that they'll do something like they'll take a coconut and they'll hollow it out in the middle. And they'll attach a chain to one side and attach the chain to a tree. And then they'll put the monkey's favorite food inside the coconut. Now that food can be bananas or peanuts. I've read a variety of things, but ultimately it's just something that the monkey's going to come in and grab. And the hole for the monkey to grab the food is, it's a small hole, and it's big enough for him to fit his hand in when he puts it flat. But when he makes a fist, the hole's too small for him to pull his hand out, right? And it's this idea that when the monkey sticks his hand in and grabs the food and tries to pull his hand out, it becomes stuck, right? And the monkey will sit there and scream and pull, and he won't be able to get his hand out and eventually become trapped, and they'll capture him. So, but if the monkey was willing to just take a step back and look at all his different choices, if he was to simply let go of the food, he would be able to pull his hand out of the coconut. Okay, but the monkey never thinks of that because of the anxiety and fear that he's experiencing. He doesn't take a step back and think about all his options, right? And this is a lot of what happens with OCD and anxiety. This fear and panic that overwhelms people prevents them from looking at really all their different options and allowing them to make choices that are actually going to help them. And instead they engage in behaviors that actually prolong the cycle. Now, the second story that I want to introduce is this idea of a bee trap. And this is something that I picked up from this book right here. The book is called OCD Treatment Through Storytelling. It's by Dr. Alan Wegg. And Dr. Wegg, if you're watching this video, I want to say it's a great book, and there was really some very helpful stories and analogies that really helped me. And I would highly recommend it to anyone that is struggling with OCD or anxiety in general, because he really breaks down some excellent analogies that really helped me with my treatment and getting my freedom. And so one of the stories that was just I'll always remember and I always reference is this idea of a bee trap. Okay, and it's in the book, but basically Dr. Wade explains that if you ever had a bee problem, right, in your backyard or something, and you wanted to create a trap, here's how you could create a homemade trap. Basically, you would take a Coke bottle, like a 2-liter soda bottle, a clear one, and empty it out, and basically you would pour honey in the bottom and let it dry to where it becomes hard, right? And then on the top half of the bottle, you would tape dark tape around, right, all the way up, all the way to the spout. And then you would go out and hang that bottle upside down so that the honey was on the top, and obviously that the dark tape was now on the bottom where the spout. And the bees will sense and get their way to the honey. You know, they'll find it through their senses, and they'll get up there and they'll actually go fly in the bottle and get the honey. But the problem is when the bee tries to fly back out of the bottle, they won't be able to. You know, they can't figure out how to get out of the bottle. And this is because of a bee's visual perception is set up to where that if they're flying into darkness, right, that's their senses tell them that they're flying into a cave, right, and that they should fly towards the light to get out of the cave, right, which makes sense. So basically what you're doing is you're kind of tricking them and saying, and they think that they're flying, every time they fly down towards the exit, actually, they think that they're flying deeper and deeper into a cave, so they turn around and fly back up and ultimately stay trapped in this little bee trap. So, but if the bee was willing to kind of ignore its first instincts, it could find his freedom, right? The hole's open at the bottom, and all they need to do is just fly through the darkness, and they could find their little exit and fly out, and they'd be free. But their first instinct is always telling them to do the exact thing that's keeping them trapped, right? And in the same exact way with OCD, you know, your first instinct of trying to get rid of your anxiety and ultimately push it away and fight every obsessive thought or check things again and again or seek reassurance, all those instincts that you have are ultimately keeping you trapped, right? And if the bee was willing to just fly through the darkness, he could find his freedom. And in the same way, if you were willing to just allow yourself to experience your anxiety, right, and allow yourself to habituate to it and face your fears, you could ultimately find your freedom. And that's really what I'm talking about when I'm saying that suffering with OCD is virtually a choice, because you can make decisions to face your fears, right, and allow yourself to habituate to your anxiety. You can make those choices, right? And the more and more you make those choices, the closer and closer you'll get to finding your freedom. Okay, so when I talk about, you know, suffering is optional, I'm not implying that people are choosing it. You know, often they're choosing it unbeknownst to them. You know, they think that engaging in compulsive behaviors is actually helping them, but it's really hurting them and keeping them trapped in the long run. So I really wanted to introduce this idea that you can, right, and suffering is optional in the sense that you can make different choices, right, and you can make choices to get yourself out of your OCD and your anxiety. You just have to really take a step back sometimes and evaluate what the best choices are. So that pretty much concludes this video. I want to thank you for watching. For more information, please check out my website at www.ocdvictory.com. You can also subscribe to this channel right now, and you know, you'll be able to get updated every time a video comes out. And also, please follow me on Facebook and Twitter for weekly Q&As. Thank you again for watching, and I'll see you on the next video.